Hi, everybody. Tim Hughes here, CEO and co-founder of DLA Ignite. With me today, I've got a very special guest. I've got Brain Solis, and he's going to be talking about his new book, Mindshift. And I need to read the Transforming Leadership, Drive Innovation, and Reshape the Future. It is a really good book, Brian. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim.
Where can people find you, Brian?
Well, they can find me quite easily at briansolis.com or at Brian Solis across your favorite social channels. And you can find the book at your favorite bookstore or at mindshift.ing, which is one of my favorite URLs ever.
So Brian, thank you so much for coming on and talking about your new book. As soon as you announced it, I rushed to Amazon and bought a copy, and I really enjoyed reading it. What was the inspiration behind it?
Oh my goodness, so much. So for everybody who hasn't followed my work or who has no idea who I am, I've been a long time disruptor, practicing futurist, a practicing digital anthropologist, a practicing analyst. I've written 60 research reports. This is book number 9. Constantly looking at the future of tech, the future of behavior and market shifts, and then making sense of them to help business leaders, technology leaders, founders, venture capitalists make sense of this in a way that matters to them, to make the types of investments or changes that doesn't just react to what's happening, but gets them to react for the longer term, to future-proof their organizations, their thinking, their teams, their products, etc. And so the gap between this book and the last book has been 5 years. Kind of took a step back from everything, as you know, the pace of innovation and disruption is only accelerating. But I had noticed in my work with big companies looking to make investments in technology, at the time was digital transformation. Now we're looking at business transformation. We're looking at AI transformation. I had noticed a series of meaningful disruptions, particularly over the last 5 years. So we could look at the 2016 election. We could look at COVID-19. We could look at ChatGPT in 2022. We could look at the Vision Pro, Meta's Orion glasses. All the climate events, so many disruptive events that were happening. And the commonality between them is that it would push us outside of the center for a bit, but everybody would try to create a new normal, kind of bring it back into business as usual. And that I felt was no longer going to work, that these were signals of something bigger, that the beginning of the end of business as usual was finally here. So I started to study, like I did in the past, the meaning of these impacts, the common patterns of these impacts, the common patterns of reactions, the shifts in market and customer behaviors, employee behaviors, and recognized that many companies, many organizations, many leaders are not seeing where we're going. They're doing what they always have done. And
Is
so I
that
had,
because we've got our heads down doing the numbers for this quarter?
yeah, exactly. Quarter to quarter, short termism, but also ego, cognitive biases. We approach every opportunity with what we know, how we've handled it before, and it's normal. It's normal. So the book was inspired to help people take all of the lessons that I've learned in helping businesses transform and make it approachable, make it inspiring, make it meaningful, whether you become the leader or whether you help the leader to transform leadership, drive innovation, and reshape the future, to inspire a new genre of leadership, because business as usual is a dying breed.
Because I think I mean I have a lot of people on here who've written leadership books, and they're very good. But as you say, it's about leadership as business as usual. We're going to do a transformation. Isn't that interesting? Whereas what you're doing in what you do within the book is immediately explain to people the fact that that isn't good enough anymore. So, what are you seeing now? What for you is defining leadership? How would you define leadership?
Here's just a basic answer to that, and just to get people as you were saying at the beginning of the book, just letting them know it isn't just that leadership isn't going to work anymore. The reality is that if you look at all of those disruptions over the last 5-6 years, they're accelerating faster than leadership frameworks. They're accelerating faster than pilots. They're accelerating faster than any kind of transformation. And leadership is to recognize these net new patterns and to mobilize efforts to understand, test, learn, grow. And there has to be two types of investments under this new regime of leadership. One is learning and unlearning and experimenting, right? And the other is taking these insights and adapting them to what you do today to progressively and iteratively improve while you're looking at the opportunities to augment what you do, whether that is in an entirely new trajectory, whether that's unlocking new value, but also mobilizing and inspiring and motivating people through this culture of openness, open-mindedness, experimentation, learning, unlearning, empathy, and curiosity, imagination, critical thinking, and the empowerment, the psychological safety to be able to move and operate in these new directions. So we're looking at an iteration innovation opportunity where leadership frameworks have to invest in both, creating a culture of this opportunity for people so that we're not just re-incentivizing or motivating people to try to do different things within the realm of business as usual. I know that's a really big, complicated answer, but
Yeah.
essentially it's taking a new mindset, hence the title of the book, and allowing yourself, giving yourself the permission to see what you're not seeing today and to explore what you're not doing today as a means of iterating and innovating forward and bringing people along for the ride that want to be there.
Yeah, because in the beginning of the book, in chapter 5, you talk about fixed mindset and growth mindset, which I would expect you to talk about. But you also talk about in the chapter before that the beginner's mind. So this is your vision around we kind of need, because we deal with people all the time that say, yeah, we did this 20 years ago, so it'll still work.
Right, right.
And that as you know is a cognitive bias, and it's a position of safety that because they did it 20 years ago, they feel it will work today. But in effect, what you're talking about is about, you talk about biases, but you also talk about that we have to unlearn, don't we? I mean, who would have thought that AI was ChatGPT was only launched 2 years ago, and
Oh,
now it's a
yes.
fundamental part of society and the way that we do business.
Look, I've created my own GPT based on on this book, my books, my research, my articles. I can have conversations with myself. It's
Yeah,
fascinating. And what what I don't do is ask it to do what I would have done.
right.
I ask it what I'm not thinking about, what I'm
Yeah,
not doing. I ask it to compare myself to what other innovators faced in their dilemmas or in their opportunities. But this is on page 124, where what you described is what modern leadership is built on. It's sort of inspired by a quote by Donald Rumsfeld around the known unknowns and etc. But the
yeah,
center of that circle is what you know. And this
yeah,
is where leadership exists today. And
yeah,
this is where cognitive biases come in. This is where egos come in. And the circle, the perimeter outside of what you know is what you don't know. And
yeah,
this is where most leaders operate today. There's what I know, my experience, my leadership, my gut. What I know, I don't know. That's my boundary. That's my comfort zone right here. But outside of those two is what you don't know, you don't know. This is what AI has unlocked. This is what spatial computing is unlocking. This is what ambient computing is unlocking. This is what where the world is headed is I don't know what I don't know. Therefore, I will sink back to the center of what I know and operate from here because it gives me confidence, strength, validation. You name the word that you need for comfort in order to not have to navigate uncertainty. Yet, uncertainty is the new normal. And that's the part we haven't embraced yet. And so what a mind shift starts with is to first recognize that there is opportunity in uncertainty. And the framework of the book walks you through how to make the unknown tangible, how to explore the unknown, how to then experiment in the unknown. So what you're doing is creating a new what you know, a new center of reference that becomes agile, becomes open, it becomes creative, it becomes imaginative. And then in the later parts of the book, it explains then how to take that journey and tell the stories, share the lessons, share the insights, translate trends into something that people not only feel that they can believe in, but they can see themselves in it as well, borrowing from Disney and Pixar. But that's what we're talking about, that new leadership to operate in a realm of uncertainty and to make the unknown more known.
Because you as the next chapter, you actually then itemize a framework which you've used in the past to actually work through how to prioritize, how to look at trends, how to analyze trends. In a way, you've taken your IP and put it in a book for everybody to have access to.
Yeah, I could said another way, absolutely. Except we cut out 100,000 words from this book, so there's even more IP, uh, but we wanted to make it practical.
Mm.
This works, and I want to give you an idea of what this means. So this, for those who don't know, I have spent my entire career advising CEOs of large organizations, boards, but I have also helped to launch probably over 1,000 startups in my time. And if you think about the relationship between a founder and a venture capitalist, this is this is a relationship that is essentially operating in the unknown. Somebody has an idea to fix an existing problem. Maybe the market doesn't exist, or to invent a new thing. That market doesn't exist. And a venture capitalist has to look at that idea and start to make it tangible. What what does the market opportunity look like? What does the opportunity cost look like if we don't do these things? What does an investment look like? Time for that investment to materialize, time to value, and then how do I get to 10, 100, 1,000x return?
Yeah.
And they have methodologies and frameworks for this, and this is where I used to operate every day. And as an analyst, understanding these emergent trends, what does it mean? What does it mean to this person? What does it mean to this market? These are the frameworks that just help you exercise parts of our everyday activities that will help us navigate the future today. So not only do they work, but they actually open up new ways of thinking, new ways of leading, and new normals that help people not just adapt, but get ahead of things so that they can thrive now as the future materializes.
So I would think that there's a number of people watching this thinking, Brian, this is all very well, but we're in November and it's my year end in December. And I remember 10 years ago being in a presentation that you gave. I was at a big US software company. You put a slide up, which I took a photo of, which was, it said, we all wanted to do digital transformation, except we were too busy in meetings. So how do you balance the short-term goals of we've got to do the number versus the long-term that, yeah, we need to do something, and we need, in fact, a new normal is a competitive advantage for us.
Yes, in fact, you made me think of another slide I used to have. I tried to be innovative, but I got stuck in meetings all day. The the there is an incredible pressure to do that, and you can't not do that. This is where things become counterintuitive. But the relationship between quarter to quarter performance and long-term viability versus obsolescence is very real. And it's something that we have been, for the most part, able to navigate until you can't. So you just think of the Blockbusters of the world, the Kodaks of the world. There is that moment where quarter to quarter performance works until you're quarter to quarter behind on the next big thing. So I'm not saying to abandon short-termism, but I am providing a how towards simultaneous long-termism or simultaneous experimentation to innovation, because both is how you ensure the future, but both is why it's hard. And leadership in every model today in existing leadership frameworks incentivizes, motivates, encourages. It also manages, I guess, is probably the best word, the nicest word I can use, people to stay within that realm. And anything that deviates from that realm is frowned upon, looked down upon. You don't get your bonus, you don't get your raise, you don't get your promotion. So this cycle keeps you on this linear path. Nothing wrong with that. But what's happening with these disruptions and what has led to previous companies getting disrupted, right? So look at Blockbuster, is that they introduce inflection points. And if you're not also following those points, the delta between them becomes disruption. And these disruptive events that have happened over the last few years and that are going to happen over the next few years, they've introduced your inflection points already. You're just not doing anything about it. And that's why this is a ticking time bomb. So I'm an optimist. I want people to see that this is where they should go because they want to flex creativity. They want to flex imagination. They want to flex empowerment and change for ways that help people thrive in the future, to learn the new things necessary to compete with AI, and not compete against AI. I mean, compete with augmented intelligence, not just artificial intelligence, but augmenting your thinking, your capabilities, your aspirations. So that inflection point now is the relationship that leaders have to invest in the quarter to quarter, while also exploring those inflection points so that you're not losing an opportunity. I'm going to just finish one quick thing. I had the opportunity to spend time with Mark Randolph this week. He's a co-founder of Netflix, and we were talking about the story of when I think it's 2000, where they had tried to sell themselves to Blockbuster for $50 million.
Yeah.
And Blockbuster, he said, laughed them out of the room practically. And they had recognized that in that moment, they weren't going to get the bailout that they needed in order to hit the next stage of growth that was so important to the growth of the company. And I asked him, I said, well, Mark, what do you think would have happened? Let's just hypothetically explore a realm or a scenario where Blockbuster did give you that 50 million. Is Netflix still around today? And the answer was no.
No.
And the answer was no, because you would have taken an innovative idea and an opportunity and put it into the leadership framework of quarter to quarter performance, and you wouldn't have been able to explore the inflection points. Netflix faced 3 inflection points for its growth. You wouldn't have been able to explore those to develop them into your disruptive event. And that's what this book really does, is it makes those inflection points practical, manageable, and attainable.
It's the same with EV cars, which every EV vendor basically got bought out by a petrol company, and they shut it down.
Basically,
and with and certainly with Tesla, what you found is that they weren't bought out, and then what they did was that they in effect invented the market.
That's right. That's right. There's a little known story in Los Angeles, even though it's a big deal, that Los Angeles actually had one of the most innovative underground transportation systems, and Goodyear, some of the large vehicle companies of the time, were able to convince local governments to invest in highways and freeways as the future of transportation. And so that infrastructure actually was largely shut down in favor of this vision for the future, of which created now what makes Los Angeles so famous, having the worst traffic out there, and also lack of infrastructure to move people around. But it is, again, trying to think for the betterment of your company, your teams, your markets, society, whomever your stakeholders are, to allow that greater aspirational state of what you don't know, to help lead with vision and aspiration, to help make a better future for the people you care about, whatever that is. But it's a mindset. It's not just a one-time event. It's just constantly looking at improving today and finding those inflection points. And it's inspiring. I got to say that the soft skills that we have stripped out of business, and for the large part most schools, that is probably the greatest strength and asset we have heading into an AI economy.
Brian, thank you so much for coming on and talking to us about your new book, Mindshift. I really loved it, and I think there's it's a book that all leaders should actually read. Remind people where they can get hold of you.
Yeah, I'm even rereading it. I really I'm using it as my manual every single day. So the book is at Amazon. The website for the book is mindshift.ing, and I look forward to hearing your thoughts about it. And you can always ask me questions. I'm easy to find online. But thank you, and thank you, Tim, for the opportunity to share the importance of a mind shift.
You're welcome, Brian. And I know that you've got to run off to another meeting. So, but thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you.